In the 1960s, British agricultural trials recorded something that shouldn't have been possible: yields that shattered every known biological limit. 100 tons per acre, not once, but year after year, grown on soil so depleted that other crops simply failed. The same plant was harvested 5 times in a single growing season, regrowing to full size in just 4 weeks. It required no synthetic fertilizer, no irrigation, no replanting, and it continued producing for 20 straight years. Laboratory testing confirmed something even more unsettling. While most green manures take weeks to decompose and release nutrients, this plant broke down almost instantly. Within 48 hours, it dissolved into the soil. Victorian England cultivated it as insurance against famine. By 1954, one man had already bred 21 separate varieties in search of perfection. And yet, by 2001, this plant had disappeared from every major garden center in the United States. Today, the global fertilizer industry generates over $230 billion each year. It consumes enormous amounts of natural gas and produces massive carbon emissions, all to sell farmers nutrients this plant produces freely. This is comfrey, Symphytum crossuplandicum, and the effort to erase it reveals exactly what happens when nature offers something corporations cannot control. Welcome to Grown Folks Gardening. The story begins nearly 2,000 years ago. In 90 AD, the Greek physician Dioscorides described a plant with sticky roots in De Materia Medica, a medical text that remained Europe's primary reference for over 15 centuries. He prescribed it for broken bones. The Greek word symphytum literally means to make grow together. The Romans tested that claim. Pliny the Elder wrote that boiling the roots produced a paste capable of bonding flesh together. It worked. For over 2,000 years, Europeans called comfrey knitbone, but in 1845, one man uncovered its true potential, and it had nothing to do with medicine. Henry Doubleday was a poor Quaker living in Essex when the Irish potato famine struck. 1 million people starved to death while he stood helpless, watching the catastrophe unfold. He had tried manufacturing starch, then glue for postage stamps. Both ventures failed, but the images of mass starvation never left him. In the 1850s, while searching for a new adhesive source, Doubleday contacted the head gardener at the Royal Palace in St. Petersburg. He requested a specific Russian comfrey variety. What arrived was not what he asked for. The plants he received were not pure Russian comfrey. They were an accidental hybrid, an F1 cross exhibiting genetic vigor neither parent possessed alone. Doubleday had stumbled onto something unprecedented. The yields were staggering, 100 tons per acre. Doubleday abandoned his glue business immediately. The famine had clarified his purpose. This plant could prevent starvation. For the next 30 years, he devoted his life to studying comfrey as a food and forage crop. He remained poor. He died at 92, still committed to the belief that this plant could feed the world. Then disaster struck. His family burned every note he had written. 3 decades of yield records, cultivation data, and nutritional analysis vanished into ash. As industrial agriculture rose, comfrey faded. Mechanization and chemical inputs replaced perennial systems. Farmers forgot the Quaker who produced 100 tons per acre with nothing but a spade. In 1948, a young horticulturist named Lawrence Hills rediscovered Doubleday's work and decided to complete it. He founded the Henry Doubleday Research Association and began collecting comfrey strains from across Britain. 21 varieties were planted side by side. Every claim was tested, every measurement recorded. By the early 1960s, one strain dominated every category. Bocking 14, it was sterile. It produced no invasive seeds, it resisted disease, and it delivered unmatched nutrient density. Then Hills made a decision the fertilizer industry could not comprehend. He refused to patent it. Instead, he mailed root cuttings for free to anyone who asked. Gardeners in England, farmers in Africa, experimenters in America. By the time he retired, Bocking 14 was growing on 6 continents. Laboratory analysis explains why this frightened chemical agriculture. Fresh comfrey leaves contain more potassium than farmyard manure. While manure rarely exceeds 1.5%, Bocking 14 delivers over 7%. But the real revolution lies in decomposition speed. Alfalfa, clover, and grass sit in compost piles for weeks. Comfrey disappears in 2 days. Toss fresh leaves onto a stalled compost heap and the temperature spikes within hours. The pile transforms into black, living humus while other materials remain intact. The secret lies underground. Comfrey roots penetrate 10 feet deep, far beyond the reach of vegetables and grains. They act as biological mining drills, pulling potassium, calcium, and phosphorus from deep subsoil layers. Cutting the plant brings those minerals to the surface. It is a living nutrient pump. By the early 20th century, agriculture faced a crisis. Guano supplies were dwindling. Scientists warned of famine. Then the Haber-Bosch process synthesized ammonia from atmospheric nitrogen. It saved billions of lives but chained agriculture to fossil fuels. Today, that process feeds half the world, consuming enormous amounts of natural gas and generating massive emissions. The fertilizer industry depends on annual purchases: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, every season. Comfrey breaks that model. Plant it once, harvest for 20 years. No irrigation after establishment, no pesticides, no annual inputs, no dependency. Had British farmers followed Henry Doubleday, synthetic fertilizer markets would have collapsed. Had gardeners planted Bocking 14 in the 1950s, commercial sales would have evaporated. The industry knew this, which is why what happened in 2001 matters. On July 6th, the FDA issued a warning advising manufacturers to remove comfrey dietary supplements from sale. The reasoning was valid. Comfrey roots contain pyrrolizidine alkaloids, compounds that can damage the liver when consumed internally over long periods. The ban applied to pills, teas, and capsules, but the headlines never made that distinction. Garden centers saw the word toxic and stopped carrying comfrey entirely. Nurseries refused to stock it. The public assumed the plant itself was dangerous. No one explained that using comfrey as fertilizer poses no risk. No one explained that soil microbes rapidly break down the alkaloids. Within 5 years, comfrey vanished from mainstream gardening. The timing is impossible to ignore. Natural gas prices were rising. Fertilizer companies were consolidating into massive conglomerates. And the one plant that offered permanent fertility independence quietly disappeared. Yet comfrey itself never changed. Bocking 14 still produces 100 tons per acre. It still decomposes in 48 hours. It still delivers 7% potassium. Established plants survive minus 30-degree winters. They tolerate drought. They thrive on marginal land. And because the strain is sterile, it never spreads beyond where it is planted. Cut at 2 feet tall. Regrow in 4 weeks. 5 harvests per season. 20 tons per harvest. For 2 decades. Mulch tomatoes. Brew liquid fertilizer. Revive compost. No purchases. Ever. From 1845 to 2001, Three forces attempted to erase comfrey. Time destroyed Doubleday's records. Industrial farming displaced perennials. Regulatory confusion removed it from commerce. None of those forces changed the math. Fertility can be grown, not bought. Comfrey cannot be patented. It cannot be genetically locked behind annual purchases. It spreads from a single root fragment. Lawrence Hills understood this. That's why he gave it away. Walk through any permaculture garden today and you'll still find it. Quiet, underground, waiting, Bocking 14 survives. Root cuttings move hand to hand like contraband. The plant that emerged after famine persists exactly as predicted. Unstoppable. Unkillable. It is not a weed. It is freedom from the supply chain. It is fertilizer that costs nothing forever. And the fact that a $230 billion industry spent a century trying to make you forget it exists tells you everything you need to know. Comfrey is waiting. The only question is whether you'll plant it. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe to Grown Folks Gardening and ring the bell. Every like and share keeps this knowledge alive. The next vault opens soon.